Hey everybody, what's up? It's Booksy. This is going to be a review of Algo Trades, which is a new Discord group centered around an AI algorithmic trading program that Stockfather bought, manipulated, and turned into his own. So this review is mostly going to serve as just a basic overview, and then giving you my feedback on it and whether or not I think personally it is valuable and worth buying. So essentially, when you are in Algo Trades, you can purchase a server subscription. As you can see that there's some different kinds of subscriptions. The most common one would probably be the $9.99 per month subscription. And these are things that give you access to different kinds of charts. Things that include SPY, AMC, BBBY, Tesla, etc. Navigating these charts in this program is pretty simple. You just click on a chart that you would want to watch and it just live streams. As you can see, the interface here, pretty straightforward. There's a signal which says either buy, sell, or wait. There's an entry point, a stop loss point, target 1, target 2, and then these are different time frames, 5, 15, 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, and it lets you know what the trends are at the moment. The chart itself, fairly straightforward. There's not a lot of noise on here. Really, it only just shows you the buy and the sell signals with arrows, and then there's specifically the targets and the stops that are present. I mostly found the stops have more to do with kind of where you're entering, and obviously as you go along you'd probably want to change your stop loss, because as you get closer to target 1, the stops can be very far away, and absolutely it's recommended that you change your stop loss after you reach target 1, because target 1 is highly reliable. Target 2 is only met if target 1 breaks. So if it gets to target 1 and then it continues, that's usually going to be a point of contention. So you have to kind of watch it and pay attention to that. But that's it. That's pretty much how it works. There's a lot of different charts that you can watch, again, depending on what subscription you have. I personally have been doing a lot of testing with SPY. In this case, he's got SPY and the Dow side by side with one another. The main reason for that is sometimes the Dow gives the signal before SPY gives the signal. I'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But again, largely this is fairly straightforward, and there is community channels. There's ways of looking at this and, analyzing it with a group if that's what you want to do. You can see on, for example, the AMC stream that it had the breakout targets set up, and now that it's broken out, it now currently says wait. So it's kind of indicating that there's a possible change of direction that might be taking place, or it's uncertain about whether this is still a good entry for any direction, whether that be up or down, and therefore it says wait, the signal does. So all of that being said, a lot of the things that this boils down to have a lot to do with this particular area, which is things to know about the algo. And things to know about the algo includes like a basic overview of stuff that you're going to want to know before you start entering a trade with this algorithm. And some of these things that are addressed are things that I'm going to talk about in like my pros and cons list. And again, this is going to be pretty straightforward and simple. But I just wanted to make sure that y'all are aware this is here. I'm not going to read through this all, but I'm going to reference it. So the things to know is Stockfather telling you that there's certain things that will help you trade these more efficiently. And some of the things that I found to be cons or negatives about the program, he does address them here, and he lets you know, like, here's how you would, be better navigating those particular things. So that being said, I'm going to just briefly talk about my experience with it. I traded, I did specifically 5 controlled trades. And out of those 5 trades, 4 out of the 5 trades that I did using the SPY algorithm only, meaning like I'm predominantly using it as like the main basis for entering and exiting. 4 out of the 5 trades were very successful, meaning that I at least made 2 or 3% on each trade. Now, you might say 2 or 3%, that's not nearly enough. Well, I'm not trading options on this. I was specifically trading the leveraged ETFs, which are SPXS and SPXL. And I was doing that, again, just to kind of follow the entry and exits. I wasn't trading high amounts. It was mainly just a test to see whether or not this was highly effective. During that time, there were a couple points of interest that ended up becoming cons. But again, I'll get to that in just a second. So overall, I would say my experience with this is mostly positive. Most of my trades, 80 to 90% of my trades, and I've done more since then, have actually been successful, and they were based largely on targets that were provided. I wasn't overall holding things past target 1, and if I saw that it looked like it was going to continue based on my own TA, I might hold to target 2. I made a couple trades this morning on SPY, and I got 15, 20, 30% trades, 2 or 3 of them today, based on some of the indicators that were available here. So all of that being said, let's go through some pros and some cons, and then I'll talk about my conclusions. So pros, right? This is a very simple to read with entry, exits, and stop. I think that's a pro. It doesn't need to be complicated. It's very straightforward. It gives you the data, as you can see. It's very clear. Like, it's simple. Okay. The target prices are very accurate with target number 1, especially if the 15-minute is confirming. So for example, if the 15-minute confirms that this is a downtrend, right, and it says sell, specifically that target 1 is met almost every time. It's highly reliable. And StockFather does mention that in that about section, things to know section, that if you use the 15-minute and you're focused mostly on that with that target 1, it's fairly reliable. I mean, it's like way more reliable than the others, but obviously if all of these are in sync and you got a sell signal, you're good to go for the most part. And that's good. So it makes it very simple, straightforward. You got really accurate target 1 prices with target 2, again, if there's a continuation. I personally think that the idea of seeing different time frames as bearish or bullish is also really helpful. So I like knowing that which time frames are bearish or bullish. Sometimes, and you don't see it here necessarily, we go to something like Apple, for example, for now, and sometimes you can tell that the chart, some of it is, well, it's not loading. Let me try a different one. Let's try Tesla. Yeah, so right now it says on the 5-minute, it's in an uptrend. The 4-hour still appears to be in an uptrend. 15-minute, 1-hour daily are on a downtrend. The reason that's important is every now and then you will get a buy signal that's much more short term, right? You might only have the 5 and the 15-minute on an uptrend to start. And that kind of lets you know that after it gets to that target, that there's a strong possibility it could then reverse because, the hourly, the 4-hour, and the daily are still in a downtrend. So, for example, it'd be like doing a flag in the middle of a large downtrend, right? And that's nice. So it's good to know. I really like that. I think that's a positive. I also think that's a great way, in my opinion, to sort of supplement your own information and make sure that you're reading the chart accurately. This is something that's really helpful. I think that this is a good value. So over time, each of these is supposedly like a learning bot, which means that it takes the data that has been given about success versus not success, and it's constantly evaluating the data. So there is an actual AI element to it, to the algorithm, which is taking and essentially quote-unquote learning what is and is not effective. So the longer that they exist, the more effective they're going to be. And right now, the SPY and the AMC algos are the longest standing. And I believe Tesla was added after that, and then Apple, BBVY are a little bit younger, but so to speak. But the longer they exist, the more accurate they become. So even if there's some slight inaccuracies at times, over time, they should eventually kind of iron it out, which is great. I also like it, and I think this is a big pro because overall, this is a way for you, again, to sort of supplement your own technical analysis. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in the conclusion. But yeah, the last pro I have is a good value. I mean, you're talking about if you just want AMC, it's like $5 a month or whatever it is. And then if you want, it's $3 a month actually. And if you want the main memes or a full member, it's more, right? And you're going to get more. But obviously, like, some of these things are going to be really valuable. And I mean, $10 a month is not a lot for a service like this. And I happen to know, I'm not going to share with you, but I happen to know what it costs to buy the program. And let me just say that you would be spending, you'd be basically paying this for years before you were, up to the price that the program itself was. So the fact that you get access to it and that you get to use it, and really within one trade, I easily would have paid for an entire month. And over the course of the last 10 or so trades, I could have paid for a full member subscription for several months. You know what I mean? Like, it's super simple. And I'm not trading like high volume either. So I don't personally find this to be a bad value given what it is. Okay. Now, the cons. So here's the negative side. I'm not going to end with cons. I'm going to go back to my conclusion. But I do need to share with you some of the negative side. So there are things about it that I'm not super thrilled about, and I did talk to Stockfather about it. We had some discussion about it. Again, some of those things he puts in the things to know section, but some of them are not necessarily going to be easily addressed right now. So one is that it's not always accurate day over day. It's actually recommended that you don't trade according to extended hours, and as a result, end-of-day flushes can sometimes cause the indicator to flip. So I had a couple of trades on the SPY specifically right here on March 13th and March 15th. Both had flushes the opposite direction. I happened to recognize the pattern, so I didn't exit, but technically the algo didn't know what to make of this because it reversed hard the opposite way. So sometimes that patterning can confuse the algo to some degree and cause a signal to flip. And it is recommended anyways, like he's putting it in here and saying, look, you really should be doing this intraday trades. It's very reliable for an intraday trade, less reliable for longer term trades. I would love to see that continue over time. It really just depends on where he's got it right now. All of his are set on the M15, which is the 15-minute, as it is the most reliable. Okay. So those are kind of some issues that I take with it. The other thing is that, so if it's primarily for day trading and that's not your thing, that might not be the most effective. However, nonetheless, it's going to tell you if there's going to be possible turnaround points during the day, and that could, again, affect larger time frames, absolutely. And then the only other thing that I found to be kind of cumbersome was that between Dow and SPY, sometimes you do have a little bit of a lag. And I found it to be particularly important on SPY to pay attention to Dow at times, which occasionally front runs for a run to the upside. Every now and then the Dow gives like an inverted signal that doesn't seem to ever really work out. So I'm not really sure what to make of that just yet. But I'm also, paying attention. So I'm not just like trading this blindly. And that kind of leads into my conclusion. And that conclusion is that this is supplemental to TA. And without a solid understanding of TA, I don't think you'd be as prepared to trade using the algorithm. But if you do have an understanding of TA, if you're already doing your own charts, if you're working the charts and you're wanting to be an active trader, I think it's a really valuable tool. This is basically like a third-party, solid computer-based opinion. It's just math. It's not biased. It doesn't care about sentiment. It's just looking at technical data. It's reading ranges according to like Wyckoff and trends and EMAs and stuff. It's very straightforward. And therefore, I think it's a really great way to sort of be like, if you're second guessing yourself or you're unsure and you go check the algo, you might find that that's valid. Like you were second guessing yourself. Maybe it wasn't a good setup, or you find out, no, I was right. I should be investing in this. So these are things that I find to be really helpful, and therefore I would recommend it because I think that again, if you're somebody that's into TA and you're already trading, this is a pretty valuable service that can provide you with supplementary information and also help you just make better informed trades, like getting out before it's too late, or not getting out too soon because you're getting nervous, but there's still that target there. There were definitely a couple times where it took a little longer than expected, but it got to the target. Normally, I would be a little bit skittish, maybe want to get out early. But, when the algo didn't flip, I was like, okay, I'm going to just see what happens, and it worked out. So, there's things like that I think you could really benefit from as a trader, and that's why I think, again, this has a lot of value to it in aiding in that reading of reversals, breakouts, and price targets. So in conclusion, I do recommend it. I'm going to put a link in the description to join. You can join the Discord for free in order to have access to things you need to do a server subscription. Obviously, this is a financial decision for you. Can't make that decision for you. I personally am using it. I'm going to continue to use it. I think it's been really effective. It's helped my trading strategy a bit. Again, just as that supplemental information that's unbiased. So with all of that said, this has been my quote-unquote review of Algo Trades, and I hope to catch you all later.